secular musicians. But I want to ask you, مين أول مرة يجي Creative Mornings?
أول مرة.
Okay, fine. كلكم كتبتوا tasks?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who wants to share the answer? أنا حاسة إني ماني مسموعة.
لا لا.
إيش تفكر عنه؟ إيش كان البروسس؟ I want to get lost in. ده شغال. Yes. Okay. ولا حدا بيقول الأنسر؟
I want to get lost in
nature. مين كمان كتب nature؟ ما حد؟ Oh, nice.
the beautiful outdoors.
Same thing. Okay, so Creative Mornings, it's a global community networking. I don't know what they call it. يعني what anyone would like to call it. The main chapter is in New York, the United States. كل شهر بيختاروا theme. A theme is applied to all the chapters. وكلنا we pick the speaker from our community اللي they relate to the topic. اليوم عندنا بكر الطيار. طبعا هنا مكتوب his academic bio. He's a law student, management international law at the American University in Paris. بس I did not want to introduce. الصوت واضح ولا مرة بزيد؟ Sorry.
واضح.
I did not want to introduce him as an academic أكثر من as a person. So when I was asking him what would you like to be introduced as and how can you relate to the topic, he said I was always confused and I felt lost until I was comfortable getting confused, which is I think most of us can relate to. حيكون عندك في الأخير a 20 seconds pitch. If anyone would like to share whatever they're doing in the community, they can go ahead. We have a guest اليوم. عندنا our global sponsors MailChimp and WordPress. وهذول local sponsors عندنا BMG, Cup Coffee, كريم ونستلي وجداوي صفهد وسنبلة which is where we're at now. في 207 chapters around the world in 65 countries and 20,000 attendees per month and 8.7 million views online. Those are some of the chapters. This is the headquarters team for New York. This is our team. في ناس ناقصين لسه we're gonna add them. كلكم you're registered في الوebsite have Creative Mornings. A lot of us don't use it as much as we should. It opens up great opportunities. I suggest that you all go and update your profiles. They might update any other social media profile and make it more like who you are. This is the link for you. Okay, let's welcome our speaker.
شغال؟ شغال؟ شغال. طيب I'm going to test a couple of things. واحد اعتذر لانه البرزنتيشن حتكون بالانجليزي ولغتي الام هي الانجليزي شويه مره كلجه بالعربي. كنت ابغى اجهز نفسي واتدرب واكون مستعد لكم بالعربي. This is number one. Number two, please be aware that I am a man like any one of you guys here, and that everything I say is up for scrutiny. So you can call me out and be like, no, you're full of doo-doo, you're wrong. But do that after the presentation, not during. Preferably. The top and third, is this comfortable? Can you hear me fine? Or would you rather that I use the mic? Mic, raise hand. Voice? Voice. The front row said voice. So the topic of today is lost. Now I got this logo from the TV show from the 2004 series up to 2007. And I want to tell you why I think I'm suited to tell you about being lost. Now, I was born in France to mom and dad from Saudi Arabia, went to an American school and had friends from everywhere. Identity scrambled. You don't know who you are. I go outside, I see the French, I'm nothing like them. I come home, I see my parents, I'm nothing like them. I go home to Saudi Arabia, I don't fit in. In France, I don't fit in. In school, I'm the weirdo. I'm like, khalas, okay, fine. I'll walk this line and I'll try to figure out what's right, and most of you have been here a long time. You know how intense they have been about imposing one way of seeing the world. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to go figure it out for myself. And I was confused. It was very tough along the way. And 30-some years later, I think I have some insights to share. So what does being lost mean? What does being lost mean? These are two scenes I'm a fan of. Raise this head. There you go. That's not my brother. So you have a scene, if you've seen from the latest Spider-Man movie, Homecoming, where Mysterio, the bad guy, comes and plays with his concept of reality. And in another, the same thing happens in Doctor Strange, where Doctor Strange comes to this super monk lady and gets blasted into another universe, and he's completely without control. Everything is strange. He doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't know what's happening. He's entirely powerless. So being lost is being disoriented. You don't know where you're going. You don't know where you are. And you're powerless to do anything about it. Now, I have a concept of hell. I think hell is eternal regret for a life not lived well. I think all the pain, all the fire, all that stuff is just a nice symbol that caters to primitive minds about some deeper pain, and that's regret forever. Now imagine yourself falling down a hole forever without any walls, in absolute silence and absolute darkness, and no matter what you do, it only gets worse. That's being lost. Lost is hell. But, so you have no control, no direction, it's complete chaos and disorder. It's scary. But, you know what's scarier is that's a part of life. Chaos, being lost, not having any control over your surroundings, and not knowing where you are is a necessary part of life. It's this. Because I have the notes here. So it's a necessary part of life. And what you do is you have to impose your consciousness, your will, your intelligence onto this chaos. You know, you cannot have being found without being lost. Just like you can't have black without white, you can't have up without down. It's just part of the game. It sucks, but you got to struggle. You're not safe. You know, the more information you acquire, the more knowledge you get, the more your paradigms shift and change, and everything becomes new all over again. Control is an illusion. We'll revisit that. So your will, your consciousness is being tested. You have to impose order on the chaos that you see. I'll dare say it's a necessary ingredient to maturity. You have to struggle. And see, like this I really like. Chaos, and then it's pretty good. Okay. So the question is, how can you be lost and how can you be found? Now the first thing now, if you're in a strange environment, if you're in somewhere new, is assess. Stop, calm down, chill, breathe. Assess. You're falling. It's okay. It's okay. This is a constant. Look for the normal. But you can't just take things for granted. You have to actually venture out there. You have to question. You have to think. Now, the French, they put their mark on me. I like to say, to think is to be. But if you don't think, you're not. You really need to think. Exercise your will. And in so doing, you're kind of investigating, questioning, wondering. You're hurling yourself. You're provoking. You're almost calling out, challenging the world to give you the unknown, the chaos. You're bringing it into your life just so you can upgrade yourself. You know what happens to a bone when you break it? When it fixes itself, it gets stronger. It's a little bit the same with your mind. You know, it's pretty. The danger is you break it, you don't come back. But you know, so there's a good saying by Tolkien: "Not all who wander are lost." So always prepare yourself for a life of adventure and expedition. I think I saw here somebody say on their thing they like to get lost in adventure and exploration. Raise your hand, Amin. Okay, that's him. You can ask for more from him later. So how do you prepare? How do you prepare for a life of adventure and exploration and resetting your knowledge of what the world is and what really is? Right? Because nothing is as it seems. If you've seen The Matrix, I think life is that. It's just a constant barrage of surprises, and it's just kabad. Again, sorry. Holy curiosity. That's what Einstein called it. That inquisitive nature where you go in the dark and you are in the jungle and you look for the snake in the grass and you poke and you prod and you try to see maybe something's up here. It's a cycle. This I invented, right? So you're observing your surroundings. You're trying to understand what's going on. You're curious. You're intrigued. You say, this is funny. Let's see how it works. You explore it, investigate it a little further, and you analyze it. You start to understand it. And then you discover, this is how it works. This is what happens. Great. You have awe. Wow, this is so cool. And then you tinker. You modify it. You see, maybe if I do this to that, maybe you can do this a little better. And then you upgrade nature, because that's what we're here for. If you ask me, I think we're here to make harmony and beauty, right? And to just reduce pain. That's the bottom line. Harmony, beauty, reduce pain. Simple. Not easy, but simple. And then you repeat, because now you've changed your environment, and everything's changed, and you repeat. And that's the engine of holy curiosity. That's how that's the first tool in your kit to get unlost, right? But then you try to get lost again. It's quite fun. And scary. But it needs courage. I mean, I always thought, the Mutawas really pissed me off. They were terrible people. Sorry. They were just limiting freedom. I'm a Frenchman. It doesn't work. And I always thought, why are they so rigid? Why are they so rigid in them and any form of extremism? Why? And the thing is, if your understanding of the world, the cornerstone by which you understand everything, is being shattered, right? It's like that absolute confidence you had, that comfort you had in your world is gone. Everything you know is gone. You die somewhere. Your ego is disappearing, right? And that's terrifying. It's terrifying. And I can understand, I can forgive it, the rigidity. But it doesn't excuse it. So you have to have the courage to really reassess and be confident in your approach. But you can only do that if you're Zen. Ironically, I'm saying extremism is terrible and everything, but you have to have faith that there is a higher order, and it's infinitely higher, and at every level it gets more complex, and everything gets reassessed all the time. But there's a higher order. You just don't know it. Have I gone through everything? But you got to be smart, right? So I keep talking about. You got to be smart. I keep talking about how you have to hurl yourself into the unknown, into chaos, into disorder. Now, I think exile is a great rite of passage, because as a child, immature, unformed, you are kicked out of the house, get out. You're told to leave. And this actually is what happened in the movie 300, right? They say we become men by taking our little children and sending them out into the wild and the unknown and fighting off the bears and the wolves and everything. And it's true, you see that little fierce guy. He kicked some wolf ass. It's pretty impressive. It's true in the movie. But, the Mormons do something similar. The Kiwis do something similar. And hell, even the Israelis do something similar. You go to the army and you're out of mommy and daddy's house for 3 years if you're a man, 2 years if you're a woman, even women. And you get your ass kicked. It hurts. I'm sorry if I'm offending any ears, but we're all adults, right? And that does something when you're out in the unknown and you have to adapt. Intelligence is adaptation, because you are humble and you crush yourself in the face of the truth that is new upon you. You don't know what you see. You don't know what's new. It's imposing. You're humble. And the Kiwis come back, and the Israelis come back, and the Mormons come back higher, upgraded, more intelligent, and more knowledgeable about the world, and more importantly, more tolerant. Right? So you have to hurl yourself into the unknown. Go into exile. Take some time and adventure. But through it all, I cannot stress enough the importance of staying zen, calm. I think this is why we pray. I think we pray so that we can bring peace into our lives in the fast-paced life of every day. You impose order on your chaos, and unless you do so, unless you take a breath, unless you meditate, unless you just slow things down, well, you're just going to speed up to infinity until you burn out and die and fizzle out. And for what? For what? Your consciousness has not been expanded. You are not more compassionate. You have just been burned. And it's the same when it comes to the unknown. When so many things happen. I work in government. I know chaos. and many of you do here too. No point feeling panic. You do stupid things when you panic. On the plane, they tell you, we're crashing. It's okay. If you notice in the pamphlet, everybody's smiling. They shouldn't, but they're smiling. I think it's because they're high from the oxygen. So stay calm. And if you're calm, you're focused, you're zen, you can have a sense of direction. Or at least you can start imagining where you want to go. If you're in the jungle, climb up that tree and see the canopy and see how far things go. Think. I think I don't know which engineer was saying, if I'm faced with a problem, I'll think about it for 99% of the time and execute for 1% of the time. It goes to tell you how important intelligence, calm, and zen are in getting unlost. There. So, anxiety, panic, do nothing to creativity. Nothing. They do not help inventiveness. And it just digs your hole deeper. Stay cool, brother. Stay cool. Now, there's a chicken and the egg issue that I keep facing. Because I'm saying you have to hurl yourself into the unknown. You have to go into nature. You have to... Is it working? I don't know. There. Okay. So, sorry about that. I'm very raw. And it helps that I have my friends in the first row. Thank you. I keep talking about how it's important to venture into the unknown and go and see nature. But the thing is, the more you learn about the world, the more you learn about yourself. Right? The more people you meet, the more you know how you react. And honestly, I think that we are part of the world, intrinsic. We're all a fabric. We made from it. Right? We're not separate, we're of it. Right? And I think we're of each other too. We're all other selves. We're bits of consciousness in each other. So as you're going into the unknown and you're learning and you're finding, you just actually get to know yourself better too. So I don't know which to start with. You know yourself, which you should. Socrates said, know thyself. Or should you know the world first? Either way, it's a chicken and the egg problem. They come hand in hand. They shouldn't be ignored. But when you know yourself and what you stand for, when you've been into the world and you, for instance, for me, it's about beauty, harmony, and relief from pain, right? Then you know what you live for and you have a certain direction. You know where you're going and why. And that's a very intrinsic step into being unlost. You can be thrown anywhere, but if you know your why, because you know yourself, your values, and what you stand for, because you've been through the struggle of reassessing all the time and knowing the unknown, well, you get a better way going forward. Cool. So, also what helps is thinking big and long term, right? It's very easy. There's a war on our consciousness, if you ask me, with all these like frenetic, panic rate life events, right? Between all the tweets and the Facebook posts, I'm old, Instagram, all these things, and what's the latest thing I saw? It was TikTok. And this lady, Meg Ryan, she's making a 5-minute video thing, like in Netflix, but in 5-minute episodes. Like, what is this? This is a complete erosion of our focus. We can't think big. We can't think long term. We're too busy being distracted. There's a war. There's really a war in our consciousness. But if you're zen and calm and quiet, and if you focus on the essential, you can manage to see the big picture. You rise above the canopy in the jungle, and you can see where you're going, what the lay of the land is, what's happening really around you. You're understanding your surroundings a little better and calm. You're not distracted. It's number one. Number two, if you think long term. Now, this is a clock of the long now. The clock of the long now is a multi-billion-dollar project by Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon. It's been a project going around for a while. I think this is a fascinating thing because that clock intends on keeping time for 10,000 years. Just to give you an idea, that's longer than all of human civilization right now. Mesopotamia, I think, was 8,000, right? So that's pretty BC, 8,000 BC. So that's pretty nuts. It's pretty nuts. If you think long-term, big picture, you get a certain clarity about where you want to go. For me, that's God. God is love. And no matter what, just do no harm. Increase beauty, increase harmony, increase consciousness and awareness. That's what I take for. I don't want to put ideas into your head. I don't want to make this like a Saturday preaching thing, but, you know. Cool. So now, everything is changing all the time. You're thinking long term. You're thinking big picture. But what is your anchor? Right? You need something to come back to. Right? I keep calling it beauty, harmony, God, love. For me, it's the community you build. It's the family. They keep you in check. They tell you, yo, wake up. You're pretty crazy. This is a cute idea, but just come back to yourself a little bit. Of course, you got to keep a margin of error. Right? They got to be like tolerant. It's like, okay, this is a fun experiment. Let's go. But if you're harming yourself, somebody calls you out. Because when you're close to the action, you don't see. You need someone with a whole perspective. So your family and your friends, your community, the people you are willing to die for, they're your anchor. And it's pretty sacred. For me, it's that and faith. They keep calling you back to a certain order. And it's above all and everything. There's 1,000,001 ways to increase harmony, beauty, and love. How good am I on time? Okay. Type. So, creative destruction. 5 minutes? طيب. Okay, cool. 5 minutes. Five. Creative destruction. I keep doing this. Kaizen and creative destruction. Kaizen is a Japanese concept for continuous improvement. And this is what you're doing to your consciousness every time you're breaking it with new information and you're paradigm shifting and you're learning new things. You're changing and upgrading the way you see the world. Kaizen. Creative destruction is when you destroy what's available, what's present here. So for instance, let's say this building behind you, the foundations are okay, but on the top floor they start realizing, something's wrong. They break it off and they build on top of it to keep it stronger. Creative destruction is the replacement of what's available with what's better, what you've just invented. There's something called the innovator's dilemma. Show of hands, who's aware of the innovator's dilemma? Okay. Innovator's dilemma is when you're a big company and you have and you're very good at what you're doing. For instance, Kodak with cameras and film, Nokia with telephones, right? Who came along and screwed everyone over? Sorry. Apple. They did not see them coming, but the only way they could have seen them coming is if they innovated against themselves and somewhere killed themselves. I can't stress this enough. Every time you're learning something new and you're paradigm shifting, you're in the unknown and you're understanding it a little better, you're putting chaos into that, order into that chaos, you're killing yourself a little bit so that the new form of you can come in. It's the same with those companies. They needed to kill themselves. They needed to adapt and replace themselves with something that was more like the iPhone. So that's that. Now, unfortunately, it never gets easier. It's always tough. I have a cyclist friend of mine who is like Tour de France. He goes around the bicycles. And he says, you know what? Your first bike ride is hard, but also your 1,000th bike ride is hard. The challenge is not to get, complacent and lazy and easygoing. You want to get harsh with yourself and keep the training hard. So you get stronger, but the challenge gets stronger too. You start understanding the world a little better, and you start knowing the unknown a little better, while you make it more freaky, more crazy, and you challenge yourself even more. So you got to take risks. They ask men and women on their beds, what do you regret? All of them regret not taking enough risk. And risk is the unknown. So you got to hurl yourself in there. Exile yourself. Go and find out and learn. And nothing happens when you're idle. If you sit in the jungle by yourself sitting zen and thinking, oh, God will come and help me, God helps those who help themselves. So get your ass up and work your way out of it. Nothing happens when you're idle. You got to move. And it's never easy. And the danger of complacency is that, this is a great quote by Martin Luther King, is, nothing in the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance or conscious stupidity. You have decided, you know what? I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I'm going to do, what's it called? The ostrich. They dig their heads in a hole because they want to know the truth. That's just a surefire way of destroying yourself and killing yourself. The reason you don't do that is because you're not courageous, you're not vulnerable, you're not humble. The truth is bigger than all of us. If you stand in the way of truth, you stand in the way of God. That's how it is. And, thank you. But with that comes the risk-taking and letting go of control and safety. That illusion is false, right? The fact is, you're always lost. You're just temporarily found until it's interesting again to get lost again. It's a shifting cycle all the time. It never stops. So do not be one of those ignorants. Happy to be. I got good news though. God only gives you that which you can handle, right? لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. صح? Of course. So you're up to the task. You're up to the task of the unknown and the confusion and the pain and the struggle and all that. You're up to it. You can do it, right? And this is actually where, God, love it. There. The comfort zone is where nothing happens, where you're idle and boring and have no stories to tell at parties and nobody wants to be your friend. But the discomfort zone is great, because that's where it's just where things are familiar and unfamiliar enough to keep you going. There's a concept called flow, which is like when you're excited about that balance between the unknown and the known, and you're learning and you're growing. It's great. So persevere. Go into the lack of comfort and struggle. Now through it all, right, the road, you know where you're going, you're thinking long-term and big picture, you're feeling comfortable and you're good and you're solid, but it's never a straight line. It's never a straight line. Maybe it's better that way. It's never a straight line. It's actually, you know where you're going, you don't know how you're going to get there, but at least you know where you're going. And you have the courage to go through the curves and the ups and downs and the punches and the disappointments and the little mini victories, and step by step, mile by mile, you're going to get there. And if you think really just of so there's a story about this man who climbed the Everest with his friend. A snowstorm hit and he was hanging by a rope. His friend had to cut him short, cut him loose. This is a true story. The man got cut. It's a terrible decision. I said, me and my brother, he's hanging down there, and you cut him. It's terrible. And you go and that's it. You assume he's dead. Guy didn't die. He broke his leg, broke his shoulder, was alone in the mountain, lost, but he figured, you know what, I need to survive. And he struggled to survive, and he did. He weighed 130 kilos before. By the time he landed at the bottom, he was 65 kilos in a week. Yeah. But like, that's an intense struggle, right? And the secret was for him to think about just the next kilometer. The next kilometer. The next kilometer. If he was thinking about, oh my God, I have 300 kilometers to make it, I'm going to, that's it, you're screwed. You're not going to come out of it. But step by step, mile by mile, you make it. Baby steps, it's good. The key, have vision, but be disciplined and focused and relentless. Your focus and your discipline is your love in practice. Is you making real something beautiful, saving yourself over and over again. Your discipline and your focus is your love in practice. Do not forget. And I don't mean romantic love like holding hands and kissy. No, I mean like your love for God and life and beauty. I mean the real love. The blood, the good one, the life. And always adapt. I say dance with life. Because you don't know what's coming at you, but you got to dance. And keep it like you're a kung fu master with this. You know what you're doing. Mamnu tamayo. I forgot. It's a funny story. I was at a concert once here, and there was a jazz singer. He said, everybody, I want to dance, I want to dance. I got up there and I danced. I didn't know. A big security man took me away like I was a feather. I want to finish on some parting notes. This is the Kogi tribe. God, thank you. This is the Kogi tribe. They think we are the lost brothers. They think all of Western society, all of civilization is the lost brothers. I went to the jungle in the Amazon. I did some things. Maybe my brain got fizzled. I don't know. But the fact is, I can't help but agree with them. I think we're living too fast. And I think our love, our contribution, our purpose, our direction doesn't need to be all that big. Doesn't need to be all that crazy, build a company, have the billions, and get the private jet. I really don't think so. I think as long as you have community and contribution, even if it's just healing or soothing, that's enough. It doesn't need to be complicated. Just live in harmony. And these guys are. They're living in harmony simply. They have more wealth than any of us with nature, with the animals, and they're Zen. And we're lost to them because we're destroying everything around us that gives us life, just so that we can pretend to live more. And I'm telling you, this is like the Matrix. You don't know that you're doing wrong, and you don't know what you don't know until you realize, and then everything falls apart. I don't want to philosophize too long on this, but take a look at them. I mean, they're happy. They're sitting down and they're hanging. Everything is green. Come on. Yeah, it's pretty good. Did I? I was going to say Illuminati. Killed my speed. John Lennon says, our society is being run by insane people for insane objectives. I think we're being run by maniacs with maniacal ends, and I think I'm liable to be put away as insane for expressing that. That's what's insane about it. And finally, it's fun. You're being lost. This is Alan Watts. This is Alan Watts. This is Alan Watts. This is Alan Watts. And he's a philosopher that I really like a lot, and I'll part ways with you on this note. There's no point in going on living unless we make the assumption that the situation of life, as is optimal. That really and truly we're all in a state of total bliss and delight, but we're going to pretend. We're going to pretend we aren't just for kicks. You play non-bliss in order to be able to experience bliss. You cause yourself pain and suffering. You struggle so that you can have the relief of not struggling. And you can go as far out as non-bliss as you want to, and when you wake up, it'll be great. And thank you. I hope you love Alan Watts, great, worth listening to. Check him out on YouTube, and then, well, ask me if you have questions later. Thank you.
Any questions? لا بعد كل ده. I think it was a lot for us to let the sink in. We were lost, we were trying to navigate. كلنا we think we have got it now. Technology, suicide, okay, so آخر شيء عندنا ال 20 seconds pitch. اليوم ال 20 seconds pitch شوية أطول من 20 seconds. You can reach out at any time if you want to introduce your project or if you want to talk about anything. اليوم عندنا عبد الإله. He's been reaching out من آخر event. He has a really great project that he would like to share.
Assalamu alaikum. اسمي عبد الله فازل الشريفي. I'm a teenager. This is my first time speaking, so good. I'm also wearing on the vest, so I apologize. I want to put up a question. Basically, just almost a quarter of the world's population, which is 1.8 billion people, are between 10 and 24 years old. And more than 600 youth live in fragile and conflict-affected settings, meaning that they can't be themselves and they can't be in comfort with who they really are. The youth are basically the backbone of the future, and they are the most important stage of our life because they shape us and they make us who we are. But I noticed, I struggled with many years of being who I really want because of society and the community was really just pushing me towards something that I wasn't, and it became like something like pattern formed, which is like you need to grow up to become something that is already been based, and you can't be yourself. For example, the most amount of motivation I got was from my friend who really loved drawing, and he used to draw comics and Spider-Man, and he was really good at it. But the problem was that no one gave him support, no one really noticed him, and I think I was the only person who gave him support with the whole drawing. Even from his family, he didn't have much support. At school, he got bullied, and they told him you're grown up now. You're in high school, you're in middle school. Why are you still drawing Spider-Man and all that? And after a while, he came to me, reached out, and told me that I'm thankful for you and your support. You were the only one who was with me. And then I asked him, are you still drawing? He told me no. I lost motivation. I basically don't feel like I want to draw anymore. And that really hit me hard. So basically, what I want to do is make a little community, something just like this, but for the youth. Right now, it's called Project Youth Community. It really isn't much right now. It's still in progress because basically I'm the only one working on it. And I want to make a community who basically puts teens together who are talented and creative and give them a place where they can be themselves, they can share their ideas, they can be as creative as they want, and I'll give them as much support as I can because I really think that we can be much more. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you Philip for coming today. اليوم عندنا extra coffee يعني جبنا 2 coffees. في Dunkin Donuts هنا وفي cup coffee وعندنا كمان عيادات الجنسية their potential sponsors for the future. You can pass by and check their what they have to offer. Thank you so much.